Times of unrest, prices rising, inventory is still low, demand is high, inventory is short, interest rates are up, prices are up, the market's gonna crash, we're jumping off of a cliff, everything's gonna be fine. Are you confused? Let's talk about what's really happening with the market right now here in 2022. The real estate market is changing rapidly. By the time this video even posts, there's probably going to be a shift that we don't even know about. But as a realtor, I feel it in my bones that it is my job to inform you, the consumer. You should be able to be buying and selling property, feeling good about your decision. And I maintain that headlines are meant to terrify you. They're not meant to clarify anything. They're meant to get you to click and to give money to advertisers. But what I'm gonna do today is dive into not only some national data, but some very hyper-local data to the Alachua County area so that you can get an idea of what is happening and shut out all that other noise. So what I'm gonna do today is start with some national statistics, and then I'm gonna drill it down to our Gainesville, Alachua County area. So what we know is that the Fed has announced they're going to raise interest rates 6 times in 2022, and they've already done it a few times. We also know that there is a home deficit across the country of 5.5 million homes. That's why we're seeing such a tight inventory. There's just not enough homes. And that's because of new construction. In 2008, it was decimated. It hasn't caught up yet. But because of supply and labor shortages, it's gonna take several years for it to come up. In fact, some are saying that it could take 10 to 19 years just to fix the housing supply. And just recently, it was announced that there are about 800,000 homes for sale in our country. That is a deficit of 2 to 2.5 million homes. And with the increase in rates, home building is expected to decrease just a little bit in 2022. Because of supply chain issues and the increased rates, last time when we hit about 5% interest, the demand of new construction slowed due to its affordability or lack of it. We've also seen a very slight dip in home sales. NAR, the National Association of Realtors, just reported that the sales have dipped nationally for the 3rd consecutive month in a row. Now, it's not a massive dip, so don't panic, but it does show that the rates are affecting some home sales. Now, all that is to say that yes, some things are slowing, yes, prices are up, yes, rates are up, but because of the really tight inventory, the absolute lack of houses for sale, and the deficit that we're facing, prices are still gonna be red hot, and it's still gonna be a very healthy market. So there seems to be a little bit of conflicting things that are happening. There's some good things, there's some bad things. How do you wade through that noise to figure out what's really going on? Well, the Wall Street Journal had a really great article that came out that talked about how millennials are charging the market right now. The group of people that we thought never wanted to pay for anything is actually making up over half of the buyers in this current market. And even though sales have dipped a little bit, I thought it was really interesting that the chief economist of the National Association of Realtors, Lindsey Johnson, had this to say. Higher home prices and sharply higher mortgage rates have reduced buyer activity. It looks like more declines are imminent in the upcoming months and will likely return to the pre-pandemic home sales activity after the remarkable surge over the past 2 years. So let's break that down. 1, home sales are down a little bit. Fed's going to continue to raise rates, so it's going to cool the market even more. However, even the chief economist is saying we're going to return to the pre-pandemic market, which, as long as you haven't blacked out and forgotten 2018 and 2019, was a very healthy market. Maybe you couldn't sell your house for $300,000 over asking, but you still maybe had multiple offers and you still had very few days on market and a really strong sales price. So let's take all that national data and shrink it down to our Gainesville, Alachua County area. Our most recent stats for Alachua County from the floridarealtors.org website are showing that sales this year over this time last year have dropped just a bit. They're actually down 12.2%. Now, that could have something to do with buyers slowing down. I also think it has a lot to do with the lack of inventory. If you don't have houses to sell, houses don't sell. But what is promising is the fact that the average sales price this time over last year is actually up 18.2%. Last year, the average sales price was $337,209, and this year it's up at $398,694. The current time to contract is actually identical to this time last year, and it's about 6 days. Now, this means some homes may sell faster, some homes may last longer, but the average we're seeing is just under a week for a house to go under contract. Supply has ticked up just a bit. Last time I did this market update, we were at 4 weeks of supply, and now we're at 6. So with a 1.2 month supply of inventory, it shows that some more houses are coming on the market. You as a buyer are maybe gonna have a couple more choices. But that doesn't mean you can start lowballing and asking for the home warranty and a new roof and all the other things, because the other thing that we're seeing is the median percent of list price received, which means you listed a house, it sold for that or higher, is 100%. Think about that. I know that's a lot. Your head may be spinning like Beetlejuice, but take a deep breath. There's a lot going on, but this is still a very healthy market. What is the bottom line? Bottom line is one of the most common things being Googled right now is a housing bubble. Are we going to have a correction? You bet. Are we going to jump off a cliff and see 2008 again? Nope. In my opinion, we're going to see that slight correction where perhaps you're not having to put an offer within 24 hours. Maybe you get to think about the house for a day or two. You may not be waiting in a line of 20 families to get into an open house. I think there's gonna be some slight cooling and the absolute frenzy is gonna die down. But that being said, if we return to the 2018, 2019 market, it's still gonna be incredibly healthy. So here's your bottom line. Sellers, it's time to get your house on the market because as inventory grows, the competition decreases. Buyers, it's time to make a move. You know, it has been said over and over again, prices will rise, interest rates will rise. What are you waiting for? Make the move, because if you don't, you're gonna pay more money and you're gonna pay a higher interest rate, which if you extrapolate that over 5, 10, 20 years, makes a huge difference in your finances. So the time to act is now. And I don't mean to make light of this situation because it's obviously very serious. Most people, this is the biggest financial transaction of their lives. So hear me when I say that I am here to help. In fact, if you still have questions, be sure to check out my videos where I talk about the top 10 things I've learned helping over 100 families buy and sell properties here in Gainesville. I'm Lindsey Johnson, your resource for all things real estate. See you next time.